to start things off, where did the idea to race at Slinger come from?
A mutual friend of the owner of Slinger and myself that races off-road trucks, and he always had the idea to do it. And me and the owner of Slinger kind of were hesitant and thought it was a dumb idea at first. And even the soda organization, we talked about it in a meeting, and one of our board members was like, "Have you ever been to soda? It's a concrete bowl with walls on it. Like, how are you supposed to have an off-road race?" But we figured it out, obviously. So
how difficult was designing the course and eventually building it?
It was pretty difficult. Town and Country Landscaping did all the work, and they ended up having a lot more work in it than they expected. They were the sponsor of the race, but I think they were pretty happy with the results, and they're definitely interested in doing it next year and improving on the course design and stuff. But yeah, it was definitely a bigger undertaking than we originally thought, you know. It was a little crazy to do an over-under on the first race there, but Town and Country wanted to make it happen, and they did. So it was pretty neat.
Were you already familiar with Town and Country or Ryan Toon over there before bringing them aboard to help with building?
No, but some of the racers that race in our series know him from his snowmobile racing track that he does, and also some of our media people have worked with him in the past, and had a positive relationship with him. So, but yeah, I hadn't worked with him as the president of SOTA. I hadn't worked with him before, and I think Slinger works with him quite a bit on other projects. So,
having both overseen construction as president and raced on it in Class 8, do you feel that the track provides a different type of racing from what you're used to at traditional off-road courses?
Oh yeah, definitely. We really wanted to have the crazy turn 1, turn 2 of asphalt turn of Slinger, with trucks sliding sideways around it. I mean, that was, I think, an exciting aspect to have as part of an off-road race. And obviously fans that are used to watching the regular stock car show are pretty excited to see, vehicles jumping over and flying through the air across the start-finish line. It was a neat course. There were a lot of racers that were afraid to come out the first year, but I think they saw the videos, and some of them were even in the stands, and said, "Oh man, I should have came out." Like they thought they wouldn't be able to turn their cars or get them, and just slide around, and because you still have to run like off-road race tires, and so it's a pretty demanding course on your tires compared to what the dirt. We're usually just trying to keep a sharp edge on our tire, and with the asphalt and dirt, the heavy braking and sliding sideways, it's just a whole new tire game, So, but it was a lot of fun to drive it. I drove in it personally, and it was very technical and flowed real smoothly, and you couldn't tell that from looking at the track before the race, like how smooth you could run the course and drift around corners and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
In a way, it seems kind of similar to rallycross. So did you kick in cages from that?
No, I took a lot of, I'm heavily copying the Mickey Thompson races, stadium races, that were through the 80s and mid-90s, and which I guess the rally cross stuff is kind of a copy of them too, but that's heavily what we got inspiration from. When you look back and the off-road racing, short course off-road racing history, the 80s and 90s Soda series and the 80s and 90s Mickey Thompson series were kind of the best that was, this type of racing was ever done. So we try to pull as much from how those two race series were ran to run our, new reborn Soda series, so.
That makes sense. So I spoke with Todd over at Slinger the other day, and he said that he didn't really know most of the drivers who raced with Soda, but he did know who TJ Greaves was when he brought his razor out. How big of a deal would you say it was for someone with his name recognition to show up?
It's good. But I get, the best part about him coming out was how positive he was, and his dad was there, Johnny too, and they're very, very positive about what we're doing and very excited about it, and they really enjoyed racing with us and want to race with us more, and are excited about racing Slinger next year and the other tracks on our circuit. And so it's good. It's really good because, some of the, I've been in off-road racing for decades, but some of the guys that are new to it, when they see something like this, they're skeptical, and when they hear CJ doing an interview talking about how much fun it was, it definitely helps. It just definitely helps, with the progression of the sport and the series. So.
It's probably too early to be looking at the future, but could we see Soda potentially doing more of these races within other ovals outside of Slinger?
Yeah, that's the plan. We want to stay I really like short track racing, and I love off-road racing, and I think it's good for racing in Wisconsin if we tour around and hit dirt track and asphalt tracks locally, and we keep our drivers from having to drive super far, but and put these crazy courses together in front of new fans that are want to come out. A lot of especially the asphalt tracks, they don't make a ton of money on their regular show, and then they'll have a destruction type show where they pack the house every year. And what our hope is that basically within 3 years or something, we're competing with a lot of, with these tracks, we're competing with those numbers, of their the kind of destruction shows where, we can, pack the place once a year, for these tracks. And our circuit can tour around, this area of Wisconsin and really, bring the fans out. And it's just good for the whole sport because then those fans are going to come to the regular races too at those circle tracks or follow our circuit around. Obviously, with the overhead, that's happening in the last couple decades with the racetracks. They kind of need these heavy shows to keep the door, to keep on operating. there's nothing worse. If a track closes their doors, they generally don't, reopen. And so these guys all need to make money to pay their bills, and tracks are huge investments, and they need a big influx of income to come in. So but yeah, I think a lot of there's we had everybody seemed to love the races that came out, the racers and the fans, and everything was super positive, and anybody that was worried about us running on asphalt and dirt kind of got over it real fast. So, but yeah.
So if you could just pick any track that you would like Soda to race at, where would it be?
I love them all. We're already talking to a lot of other tracks for next year, and I guess fans are just going to have to wait and see. But we're adding a lot of tracks for next year, and personally, as a racer and a promoter, I love going to the small dirt tracks and the well-known asphalt tracks. They're all fun, and they all have their own great fans and their own personalities, and it just adds awesome variety for the racers. Next year we're hoping to also do an endurance race where we have where a rally group is coming out for their points too, and motocross and stuff. But we're just going to do one for the year at the end of the year, and we do have one bigger short course track, but the rest of the races I want to keep all at the, I'd like to be in the oval tracks, for the whole series. So that's kind of our main thing that we're trying to do, and it because of how the overhead works and stuff, it's a great deal for the fans too. The cost for a fan to come out is similar or less than going to a movie, and that's having affordable entertainment to fans is a big deal, I think, these days. Anybody can put an event on and charge $50 to $70 for a fan to come out. That's putting an event on where a fan's paying $15, $20. That's a big. That makes it a better deal. And you can get more volume in instead of the high price. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. So would you say that the affordability and the proximity within just Wisconsin makes you stand out from other short course series like Championship Off-Road?
Well, yeah, definitely. And that's our biggest thing. We don't want to – we're not trying to directly compete with them. We want them to continue to do well and run those huge tracks with the big TV packages and stuff. That's and the pro racers with the big sponsorship deals. That's all great, but we kind of want to be like the IMCA of off-road racing, and help grow the local aspect of the sport. And we're in the next couple of years, we're hoping to sanction more series around the U.S. and bring them under the same points battle and stuff. It'll be definitely very good for the sport, and just the racing world in general, I think.
So as someone who has competed in both and as Soda's president, how would you describe the relationship Soda has with Core, if there is any? Like, could you see like a joint weekend in the future?
I don't think so. Definitely, I doubt it. I mean, their tracks are definitely, would be some of their tracks would be interested in doing something, but I don't think the series would. And they're just so big. Some of their events, I mean, they have like, I race in those events personally too, and I mean they have 300 to 500 race cars, and it's just such a different deal. Their whole goal is to give you the TV time, regardless of the cost to the racer, and our whole deal is to give you the racers way more affordable racing with, higher payback and more local, real, fan exposure. Like Champ is super. It's really important to Champ sponsors that they have that they have X amount of people watching the live stream and stuff. And our goal is to get butts in the seats. We're not as concerned about the fans that are watching the race, on YouTube. At home. We're trying to give the best show we can to the fans that came out and the racers that came out. Those are the people we're focusing on. We try to just give teaser videos to the people online, so they see what they're missing, and if they want to see the whole race, they got to come out. I want them there. And this technological world where everybody stares at their cell phone and stuff, we want real people in the stands, drinking beer and eating cheese curds and hearing the feeling the roar, the race engines and smelling race fuel. And I mean, that's the real experience. There's no real racing experience from watching on your cell phone sitting on a couch. So we got it. And we just can't spend too much money. I feel like the other series just spend so much money trying to give the at-home fans, the best experience they can, and I feel, we'd rather 100% just concentrate on the people that are there,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of debate about Champ and their media policies lately, especially since they're putting everything on Flow Racing, but a lot of people are hesitant because of the streaming prices.
I personally, Champ's put himself kind of in a rough position because they just keep charging more for a lot of things. But personally, I think the Flow Racing deal is a good thing for their series, because, basically what's better someone that's not really a race fan clicking on the live stream and watching it for that 8-minute average, or the hardcore race fans that paid for Flow Racing or will get Flow Racing and are going to watch the entire race, and then have a high quality race, so realistically, they might be cutting their viewership down, but they're going to be pinpointing, a heavier base of racers that want to watch the entire race, not just, a quick clip of because that's their average from what I remember. The last time I checked, their average viewership for the live stream is like 8 minutes. Well, that's basically just one, that's like not even that's like almost a race or half of a race. Like it's not, if their average viewership goes from 8 minutes to, an hour, you get what I'm saying. It definitely would be good. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think that people, it's one of those things, they just charge so much money in so many different ways. It's gotten to the point where every time they have any kind of a charge, people just get upset. They just, the news is always some charge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like a Boston Tea Party thing. It wasn't, the tea tax didn't get everybody upset. It was the fact that the tea tax was like the 50th tax that came out that year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So, no one would have cared about paying a tea tax if it wasn't the 50th tax. They weren't just sick of taxes. So, but yeah, I think Flow Racing is a great package. They're real similar to MAV TV, and they both do, I think, a good job, and they have a lot better programs than your Speed Vision, did decades ago. So I mean that's really good for racing, I think.
So to return to Soda, they've only worked one round so far, but how important would you say are the additions of Ronald Carlman and Colton Shaw to the inspection team? Like, the tech team already has a lot of truck racing experience, but do you feel the knowledge that they bring for buggies and UTVs has rubbed off on the guys already there?
I couldn't. Sorry, could you say that question again?
Okay, sorry. So they've only worked one round so far, but how important would you say are the additions of Ronald Carlman and Colton Shaw to the inspection team? Like, you guys already have a lot of truck racing experience, but do you feel that their knowledge that they bring for buggies and UTVs has rubbed off on the guys already at the team?
Yeah, it's a big deal. So basically, last year we brought in a really crazy overexperienced tech team, and it was one of those things. Some things you learn, you learn as you go. And we brought in a super experienced tech team with Robert Braun that's been building race engines since, I don't know, the 90s or earlier, like high-end race engines, and Jimmy Ritterbush that builds chassis, and Milan Malazic. I mean, he's been racing for 40-some years. Well, I didn't, we get to the races, and they're teching vehicles, and as the president, they called me over because no one knew anything about buggies. And, it was kind of an afterthought. I'm like, these super experienced guys, don't know every type of race vehicle. So, Ron Carlman's been racing Volkswagens, I think, since either the 80s or the late 70s, and building engines and stuff. And Colton Shaw's our least experienced guy, but that's just because there's not. UTV is young. UTV racing is young. And, he builds a lot of cars and kind of crew chiefs for different cars, and he has a lot of friends in it, and he works really hard at it, and he's pretty tech savvy. And so, technically he's our least experienced guy, but that part of the sport is just so new, is part of it. But it definitely brings a lot in because the different aspects of we have trucks, we have buggies, we have UTVs, and we have ATVs. Well, you can't be, we don't need like jack of all trade, master of none tech people, So Ron Carlman specializes in Volkswagens, Colton Shaw, UTVs. The tech director is really big in trucks, and then we have our engine guy, Robert Braun. He's big on anything engine wise, and it makes a really strong team. Tech is important to keep guys honest, and keep the racing fair, and also, and on the other hand, also just not make bad decisions. With the, if a tech guy disqualifies you for something that you shouldn't have been disqualified for, it's a it's a way bigger problem than having having had an unstrict tech that didn't check anything, So.
Yeah. And I guess to stay on the topic of buggies, Todd Dillon, he singled out the buggies in particular for putting on a good show at Slinger, and I've seen a lot of talk about Joe Jorgensen tearing it up in Class 11. So since it's not charging an entry fee for next week's race at Gravity Park, would you say that is the class that fans attending would be especially excited for, or is there another class that you feel will catch their excitement even more?
So, yeah, we made what we're doing is a free entry fee for the light buggy class that Joe's in, and super stock class, and basically those two classes in the state have over 50 race cars, and they have the highest potential for people to show up for a free entry fee. And basically Soda and Gravity Park are putting their money on the line to see if these racers if extra racers will really show up for zero entry fee, like they keep saying they will. If it doesn't work, it'll be a while till I try it again, or we might not. And if it does work, we're going to do it at more races. So it's something I would really like to do for the racers, but, basically, you need more pit passes sold to pay for the winnings. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever liked the fact that off-road racing has these high entry fees, and it was hard in the first place just to pay them back 100% and to bring in extra sponsor money for these classes, and the next step is to get rid of them if we can. And I'm really hoping we can one class at a time just start abolishing the entry fees for our race series. So, the racers they're the ones doing all the work, spending all the money on parts and putting on the show for the fans, and anything we can do to keep them on the track and save them money, especially in this economy, is always a step in the right direction.
I guess to stay on the topic of Gravity Park, I think you held every race weekend there last year, and you have 3 there this year. What's your relationship with the guys over there? Like, how is Soda so close with Gravity Park?
It was Bob owns the track, and it's kind of his fault. This Soda thing got started, if you want to say it that way. He held different specials. Every year he'd have some racer help him put on a special here and there, and he'd have an off-road special and a circle track special for the super stocks that I race with. And I basically just called him up in the spring because I hadn't seen anything advertised, but usually the guys that were helping him out they weren't like super organized all the time, but I was like, hey, are you going to have any specials this year? I want to put it on my calendar. You know what I mean? I always try to make, anytime anybody puts a race on, off-road race, that if it's not more than the day's drive, I always try to make it and support the track and the race, and he's just like, he when I called him, he's like, well, whatever you want to do. And I said, no, I don't want to put on races. And he's like, I know you'd be good at it. And I said, well, maybe. I said, but I'm a racer and I already own, technically 2 businesses. I'm like, I'm a busy guy and I have a young family. And he's like, why don't you just throw a special? Well, so I told him I would if 2 of my friends that were, very experienced would help me. And I called them up. They said they would. So I told Bob I would. And within like a week, they both quit. and I ended up, restoring Soda. And then instead of running one special race, I decided to run a 3-race series, a really short 3-race series, and kind of just see how it went. I figured worst case scenario, I'd be selling soda T-shirts for the rest of my life to pay off the debt I had from the 3 races, and best case scenario, we get something going. And so it worked out good last year. Bob's very easy to work with, and he has a very low. He's smart about how he sets up his overhead. I mean, it's most racetracks start at farms, and he has a newer racetrack where the operating farm is part of the facility, and I think it's cool. Some of the young racers they kind of turn their nose up to it, and I'm like, Crandon, everybody started as a farm. It's just they've been around for 50 years. You don't realize. It's pretty much all farmers that have built pretty much every racetrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so where did the idea to bring back the soda name come from anyway?
So soda was the longest running short course off-road race series in history. As far as I'm aware, it started basically in the early 70s, and it was kind of taken over / put out of business in 1998, and it basically sat idle, and the name and the LLC, everything kind of just disappeared, and so we made all the phone calls and found out we could acquire the name, for our short series, and then late in the series we found out the tech trailer still existed, and it was at a farm for 23 years, and it had all the tech equipment in it and plenty of mice. And so our blue tech trailer is actually the original soda tech trailer from the 80s and 90s, with all the equipment and tools in it. And we also acquired the history of basically Midwest off-road racing with the tech trailer. I have 5 4x4 skids of paperwork that's in my garage where my wife's minivan is supposed to park. And I'm trying to get the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame they're interested in archiving it, but with all the craziness going on in the economy, they're not running over here to do it yet. But it's pretty crazy that I have the history of off-road racing in Wisconsin sitting in my garage. But it came with the trailer. So.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, is there anything else you would like to add?
I just, I'd like to add that, a big thanks to all our sponsors for the Slinger race, especially Town and Country, and all of our volunteers. I think a lot of people see as I'm the president, people see my name on, the Facebook a lot and stuff, and but realistically, there's 40 officials and volunteers, and the 4-wheel drive off-road club that they bring volunteers, and it's just it takes a village to run this, and I'm very lucky that what we're doing with soda resonates so positively with so much of the racing community, that we have like really awesome volunteers and help with tons of experience, and a lot of them have more experience than I do, and maybe sharper than I am too, and it makes just a massive difference in how things run, having all that experience at the track, everybody's been in so many different series and so many races. They know how it's supposed to work, you know, and you know, I can't say enough about the volunteers and the SOTA board members and officials and class reps and how much work they put into it and how hard they work at it, and you know, in our media too. So that's really what makes all this possible, you know.